Today is the last shir in our series on Beyond Tzedakah, Understanding the Torah Expenditure. And really, if there was a theme to the series, it was a recognition that ethical behavior, and what we would say is the striving for shlemut, for perfection, involves many different ethics, emotions, values, and so forth. There is a tendency of many people to create a simplicity in terms of good and evil. This is good, this is evil. It's nice and simple, black and white. Giving is good, giving is good, right? Taking is not good. Okay, it's almost like it's really such a simplistic view of looking at how one should behave in an ethical life. The reality is that ethical behavior is very, very challenging. Okay? Ethical behavior is based upon a dialectic, and it's also based upon balancing. That's why the Rambam says that the method of Judaism is Shvil HaZahav, is the golden mean. And the fact is that many people don't understand what that golden mean means. Okay, it's like if the idea of the Rambam says is you have two extremes, right? This guy always gets angry. Beside this little thing, he'll get angry. This guy will never get angry. Anger is actually a little bit of an issue, because the Rambam challenges this Shvil Zahav in the second paragraph. In Hilchos Geis, maybe we'll take another example. Okay, let's take this person over here is a miser. He can't spend a dollar for his life dependent on it. This guy is generous. He gives to everyone and so forth. So the Rambam says that the middle path is what's necessary. To know to give, and you have to know how to receive. It's got to be a middle path. The person who doesn't give anything is a miser. That's also talking about even giving to himself. He just can't give out money. The other person, money goes through him like water. So everyone says you have to go to the middle path. What does that middle path mean? So most people think it means a synthesis. It means some intermediary value right along the point, which basically creates a certain idea that every person has to be almost parv. Right? No extremes, everything's in the middle. Not too much of one emotion, not too much of another emotion. Fact is the Rav Yishmer Soloveitchik challenges that concept. He presents two ideas. Okay, if you know anything about the Rav has his PhD from the University of Berlin in philosophy, and it was on Hermann Cohn, which was basically Hegelian. So the Rav is under the Hegelian school. So Rav said like this, he says, and Hegel is all about the dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis, right? Okay, I'm not, someone told me Hegel never used those words, but okay, I don't know. But there's the idea of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Okay, the Rav says in Judaism, in Torah, there's thesis and antithesis, but there's no synthesis. Okay? The fact is, what does that mean? It means that you have to maintain this value and this value at the same time. And then you have to use your mind to determine one to be like this and one to be like that. Sometimes the emotion of miserly, of being very careful with your money, is appropriate. Sometimes the emotion of being overly generous is appropriate. It's not just one emotion. It's whole spectrum of emotion. What is it that quotes about the Shvil HaZahav, the golden mean? It's figuring out how to balance them and how to determine when to be like this and when to be like this. That's why the Rambam calls the one who follows the Shvil HaZahav, the golden mean, the Chacham. He says you have to follow the Chacham. So that's one viewpoint of the Rav. But the Rav then takes it further into the idea of the dialectic.
It's the difference between a mean and an average.
Right. It's a mean with the reality. Everything is within that mean. It's not everything becomes an average. Correct. The Rav furthermore says is that many times it's a dialectic. One of the great problems or one of the great challenges that most people don't recognize is that monotheism, the idea of monotheism, is a tremendous challenge. There's a reason people were polytheists, right? Why people worshipped idols. Because it was simple. If you had a tsunami over there, and then you had a beautiful sunset over here, how could they both come? This comes from that idol, that comes from that idol. In the extreme of Zoroastrianism, there are two gods. Good God and evil God. So everything works out. Okay? So therefore, you can say anything bad happens comes to this force. Anything good happens comes to that force. And you think much more in terms of values and emotions, right? In Greek philosophy, beauty, Venus, that's her business. So, but there's ugly, there's war, it's Mars. Two different personalities, two different beings, right? What does monotheism mean? Monotheism means everything comes from Kodesh Baruch Hu. Everything comes from God. That says there's one source for everything. And that means that everything that exists has a divine source and has a value. Right? We are given things for a reason. If we have a self-preservation reason, there's a reason for it. I just saw something in the Chazon Ish, for example. The Chazon Ish, he says, you have a moral duty to take care of yourself. You have a moral duty to search for your dignity, for your self-fulfillment. A moral duty. Human beings are created a certain way. You have a moral duty. Then you have to use your mind to recognize how to achieve it. So it's not that every human being wants to have dignity, wants to have honor. That's the real honor, covet, right? And then you look to halacha and look to midah, look to Musar to find out how to get that. What really is honor? Oh, honor is not chasing after honor. Honor is dignity. It doesn't mean how much everyone praises you. It's a dignity. But the fact is that what he says is from Musar you learn out what the real satisfier of that drive is. But a human being has to have that drive. That's what being a human being is about. So the fact is if you understand this, everything that we have comes from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Therefore, everything that we have has a purpose, a value. And the extreme is the theory of the Raya Cook, who basically says there's a little bit of Kodesh Baruch Hu in everything, a little bit of the divine in everything, and therefore he tries to find what is the divine root of this. He even goes so far as to say, what's the divine root of idolatry? Right? So he says, from the idol worshiper we can see passion. Okay? But the fact is that's why most people say, what really is an Avera? I remember I once heard someone say this. That another rabbi said, he says, you know what is a sin? The sin is doing the right thing at the wrong time, or the wrong circumstances. That's an Avera. Because the fact is we are given everything for a purpose. But the point is we have to know how to structure it and develop it. So therefore, this means that certain things which the world defines as evil drives, there's a time for it. There's a time for aggressiveness. There's a time for sexuality. There's a time for I wouldn't say gluttony, but for desire to enjoy a meal. Everything has a place, and that's why if you look in halacha, the specific times you look into Onig Shabbos, having pleasure on Shabbos. Right? The fact is that everything has its place. It's a structure. On the other hand, there's certain drives that are considered to be good drives, right? But the fact of the matter is that if it's not in its place, it's also not good. So a person who's overly generous at the expense of himself, okay, he has no control over funds, he's not thinking of the future, he just gives and gives and gives. What really happens is that the person's not thinking at all. The fact is that how could that person accomplish anything? How can he think of the future? So the fact is that underlying tzedakah is the drive of generosity, the value of giving. And that's the way a lot of people want to define it. It's almost like the more I give, with the idea that I don't get any benefit, right? The more I'm just giving, it's almost like that's the ultimate value. The fact is it's a little bit simplistic, because the fact is that we have a greater drive in our world. It's much more complex, the whole idea of it. So that's what I've been trying to do, is identifying other aspects of how we get involved in things. So the fact is that there's times we give to the community because we are taking care of ourselves. Now, in this regard, there's two aspects of how we relate to the community. One is how we relate to our fellow human beings, right? There's a person over there who needs my help, I'll help that person out. Okay? That's one type of thing. That's a chesed, something like that. But there's something else, and this is where which I stressed and so forth, is that there's another entity which you're part of. It's the entity of the community. You as an individual are part of the entity of the community, and as part of the entity of the community, you have to think of the community in the same way as you look at yourself, as how I can take care of the community which I am part of. There's a certain selfishness aspect of it, but the selfishness aspect expands to understand that I'm part of this entity which I have to take care of. We need a place to daven, so I have to have a shul. Now, the truth of the matter is this leads to a very interesting issue. And the reason I'm going through this is to show you that when you look at tzedakah, and again, we've extended beyond tzedakah, we've talked about different types of expenditures, you see how many different types of ways of looking at things and how different the questions are. There's a difference between I am helping someone else out, right? I'm okay, that person needs assistance, I'm going to help that person out. There's another thing when I, as part of a community, want to come together as a community and make a decision as a community. I, as a member of the community, right, have a voice in the actions of the community. Okay, let me give you an example of this distinction, because there's an interesting distinction in how you expenditure, even how you do tzedakah. Okay, I think I mentioned this before. The Chasam Sofer says, basically points out that there's two ways tzedakah used to be distributed in the world. There used to be two ways that tzedakah was distributed. One was the fact that individuals give to other individuals. Okay? In other words, I'm at my house, someone comes to my door and says, I need charity. Okay, so you give them tzedakah. That's one way. Second way that tzedakah works is it used to give funds to the kupat tzedakah, to the communal fund, and then the community made the decision of how to distribute that money. Okay? It's a very different process. Chasam Sofer says that you actually need both processes. Why? Because if you have it, I'm just giving all my charity to the community fund, and the community will distribute it. The fact is, you will never personally deal with the emotions of the request and the relationship. Anani will never come to you. You'll be shielded from the real issues that are going on in the world.
This was an issue in some communities.
Yeah, well, it's an issue today. People give taxes, right? The fact of the matter is the Chasam Sofer specifically said the reason we don't take, you're supposed to give meiser. The fact is, you aren't supposed to give your meiser totally to the community for them to distribute. Okay, I should say about giving meiser, it's not so clear cut whether it's actually a chiyuv or a custom or whatever. Okay, it's not so absolutely a chiyuv. But the fact is that the idea that you're supposed to give meiser is this idea. He specifically stated that you don't just give it to the communal fund. Why? Because that way you are shielded from relating to other people. So a person who's an ani can come up to you and ask for the funds.
Is meiser considered tzedakah, or is it meiser?
No, meiser is aniyim. That specifically is a concept that says, okay, some people say, very few people say it's derisive. Some people say it's rabbanan. Most people say it's a minhag, and most people say it's not really a chiyuv. But there's a concept in Jewish thought of giving 10% to charity, and that's specifically tzedakah. That's tzedakah in the narrow definition of an ani. We should give 10% of our funds to help out poor people. Okay, now, after saying all that, they used to have a gabay aniyah, a gabay tzedakah in cities. So the Chasam Sofer says, why don't we take all that 10%? Say, I got 10%, I'll give it over to the gabay tzedakah. He'll take care of it and the other. Because that way you are not, you are shielded and cushioned from actually confronting someone who's poor. Right? The guy comes up to you and says, I'm homeless, I want to go. I already gave my tzedakah. I already gave my meiser. Right? No, the fact of the matter is that there has to be some aspect of you feeling the emotions individually. So why is it that you have the kupat the Gabbai Tzedakah? Why should you have a communal entity? Because as a community, you have to have mechanisms of dealing with the poor in the community, social services, okay? Or in other ways, the same way as other aspects. And I'm not saying this is under the mics and Gabbai Tzedakah, but orphan come to town. That's why shuls used to have lodging and stuff like that, because you have to be available for communal needs. They come to the community. You as a community has responsibilities to respond to situations. You as a member of the community has to respond. And then the community sometimes can make better decisions in terms of a more global aspect, knowing exactly what's happening. Right? So the point is that if that's true, there's a thing about the community, but I as an individual, I have to do so as a member of the community, because the community has this obligation. It's a little bit of a different emotion. It's not the emotion that I'm actually confronting the ani. I'm actually taking upon my responsibility as a member of the community to meet the community obligation. And it's a different function, the same way as a community needs a mikveh, a community needs a shul. The point is, it's a different emotion. Now that's really what I'm trying to lead up to in terms of ethics. Because the fact is, too many people define ethics only upon the simplistic formula of generosity, give. What's lost is the fact that you don't see the complexity of all the ethical perceptions we have, and it breaks down. You don't really see your role in the community, your responsibilities in the community. People lose sight of that to some extent. I used to tie it, for example, as a Rav, and this is the way it was, in terms of Bikur Cholim. And this is not really tzedakah, but it's an aspect of a chesed. It's a concept Bikur Cholim. Bikur Cholim is from the mitzvah Haftarech Kamocha. It's Rabbanan said, if you fill the mitzvah Haftarech Kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. One of the things you have to do is Bikur Cholim. Okay.
What is Bikur Cholim?
Visiting the sick. Okay. So the fact is that Lord Jacobowitz says that it was unheard of in Europe for Rabbi, as part of the rabbinic function, to visit the sick. Here it's pastoral, a big thing for every shul. Rabbi has to go visit the sick. He says, never unheard of. What was the role of the rabbi in this regard? To ensure there was a Bikur Cholim committee that dealt with this need of the community. The community had an obligation that they had people being Mevarech Cholim. Now this idea also leads to the fact of specialization. See, one of the things that occurs with this idea, and you see this whole perspective of community, is the fact that not everyone has to deal with issues as an independent being. Okay, there's a perception of everyone should go be Mevarech Cholim. There's certain people who are great at visiting the sick. There's certain people that I'm telling you, they make the sick person worse. I used to say myself as a rabbi that when I was a rabbi, I was a rabbi in Kingston, New York, and I was always told that the best rabbi for visiting the sick was the Reform rabbi in town. He would visit everyone. Okay, he would go in and visit everyone. Every shul he would go visit. Okay. In fact, my second daughter was born there, and he came in and visited my wife. He says, Hecht, I think the new Orthodox rabbi in town is Hecht. Any relationship? He came to visit my wife. Okay, fine. So the point is that so in my shul it was a tremendous thing. Go visit, especially as older people in shul. We want you, rabbi, to visit everyone in the hospital, right? Okay. The truth is that when I did Bikur Cholim with people I knew, it was like, I want to do the mitzvah, but they said to me, you should visit every Jew in the hospital. And one of the shuls, actually, the Benedictine shul, which was a Catholic shul, actually they asked the religion. You walked into the thing and they'll tell you what religion every person is in the hospital. So you walk in, blah blah blah, what congregation it was, and people in my shul were telling me, Rabbi, you should go visit everyone. So I tried it, right? I'm telling you, I'd walk in there. I'm telling you, I had a feeling that I made it worse. I'm like, hi, I'm the rabbi. What are you doing here? Like, what? It's almost like, what? The rabbi's coming already? Oh no! Oh no! So the fact is you have to have a certain style. You have to be. There's certain rabbis who are great pastors.
Yeah.
Certain rabbis, and myself included, although some people say I'm actually an interesting pastor. In situations where I'm Menachem Avel and I try to comfort the mourner, and I always feel I do a terrible job. And my wife always says, "Your husband came, he was unbelievable." I always figure, like, what did I do? I don't know. Okay, but the point is that if you see yourself as part of the community, you recognize your specialization. This guy's the Talmid Chacham. He has to learn. You can't ask this guy to go be Vakar Chola. He's learning. This guy over here, he's a remarkable Machanech, right? He's not really good at Bikkur Cholim. That guy over there, it's a Chaver Kadisha guy. This guy over here is remarkable at Bikkur Cholim. The fact is that once you start thinking in terms of community, you look at things very differently, and you see different aspects. This person's the focus should be this. That person's focus should be that. Not to the exclusion of all the other mitzvahs, but to some extent to the weighing of other mitzvahs. And the fact is understanding and working with the community. This guy's a great linebacker. I'm not going to let him carry the ball. This guy over here is a great wide receiver using football, but I'm not going to let him be on the front line, for blocking. Fact is every person has to have a different perspective. So the truth is when you start understanding things and understanding the immense spectrum of reality that we live in, ethics and so forth, recognize that everyone has a role. That doesn't mean that there's that we shouldn't do anything. It doesn't mean, I'm never going to be a Vakar Chola. No. The fact is a place for that also for you, but you have specialization and balancing it out. So the truth is that's really behind a lot of what I wanted to point out, is the fact that we become monolithic. We become simplistic in our value systems. Once you start seeing the broader perspective in terms of ethics, right, and in terms of all the different responsibilities we have as a human being, and then how we all connect into a community, because a community has a broader aspect and demands us to focus as individuals, then you begin to understand different types of challenges. Not in the sense of saying this guy's only generous, this guy's only this. Everyone has to be a little bit of a balance in their own right. But then with the community you have a further development of connection. And then you have then you also understand that there are different types of ethics, different types of things that are necessary. So this guy over here is great at this guy over here is great at that. I do a little bit, but the fact is you start seeing things, and then you start a lot of different values. There's justice, there's love, there's education, there's generosity, there's teaching people how to be self-confident. There's a certain aspect of dignity, and teaching dignity. And that's why you see in Judaism so many machokasim, because the dialectic then comes into the various different aspects of Torah, and that's why you see so many different perspectives. Like, for example, the famous Musar machokas between Slobodka and the Vardik, right? They were two yeshivot, the Slobodka yeshiva and the Vardik yeshiva, out of the Musar school. Yisrael Salanter's Talmidim and started these yeshivas and so forth. Slobodka's model was, how can I sin? I'm a human being. I'm a creation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So Slobodka, the people in Slobodka, they used to dress very dignified. Like they were, really look good. They went, Ich bin a Mensch. I am a creature of God. I am a human being. Right? I have to carry myself with dignity. Not guy, but with dignity. That's what he's doing. The Vardik had nothing like that. You had nothing. The Vardik's going to say, who are you? You can sin. Who are you? To stand up to God? You got nothing. And the Vardik used to tell people, like, really, like, walk around with your head down And in fact, what they used to say from the Vardik is Talmidim from the Vardik used to go to someone's store and bug the storekeeper to a certain extent. So they started saying, "Get out of here! Stop bugging us!" To get them put down, because they wanted to be put down to be put into their place. Right? That's that famous joke, in the Vardik Yeshiva, right? The guy comes in, you all know the joke, right? The guy comes in to the Vardik based medrash, and the guy in the Vardik, the guy comes in and he starts saying, "I'm a nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing," and two older guys in the base medrash say, "Look at him. He thinks he's a nothing already." The fact is that
takes years.
It takes years. What do you think? You can just be a nothing? It takes work to be a nothing. The fact is that it's really telling you about the dialectics, the Vardik. It's all in your mind, in your consciousness. But obviously, you have to go one way or another way. So the fact is that it just tells you, when you see a community, you see all the values, the ethics. We try to bring out the aspect of pluralism in our own perspectives. We try to encompass many different ideas. There's no idea of just having one value, but you have to see the communal vision. You have to see the idea that there's more than one ethic, and you can't turn everything down to a simplistic perspective. And that's really what I wanted to get across here with Tzedakah. The fact is that it's not just give; it's analyzing, looking at situations, thinking through things. And it's a real problem in our world today. People come up to people and they ask for funds, and then you have a reaction to it. It's very negative, and all that's really happening is that someone's asking for funds, and is it really a priority? Should it be a priority? And it's a problem. Excuse me while I turn this off. Okay. So the fact is that it's not. The fact is maybe that's not the priority now. Maybe someone else should be the priority. There's someone else,
I have a question, because we're coming up to Purim.
Yeah.
And I was always told that Purim is an exception to this rule.
Purim is exceptional. Matanos Levionim, the Rambam says in Matanos Levionim, someone asks you for food, right? You cannot check him out. But if someone asks you for anything else, like for clothes or something like that, you can sit there and say, "I want to check this out. See if you really are none."
On Purim.
No. This is the general rule of stuff.
Right.
Someone says, "I'm starving, I got to eat," you can't check him out. But the fact that someone says, "I'm poor," right? I need money for food. I need money for food a week from now, or I need clothes, or I just need general funds to live on. You know what I mean? Because ani doesn't just mean food. Right. Ani means maintaining a certain standard of living. The fact is that the Rambam, so the Rambam says that you can check out to see if this guy is telling the truth, whatever it is. On Purim, if someone in his post puts out his hand, right, you don't ask, you just give. Okay, because that's the Indian's Matanos Levionim. Okay, then on Purim we don't ask questions, but that's for Matanos Levionim. The problem is remember that's Evyonim, that's for poor people. That's right. Not for some yeshiva. It's one of the things that always get me is people, they go around collecting for yeshivas on Purim or for other mosdot and so forth and so forth. And you look at them and say, there is a custom in many people to give charity on Purim. There's a custom also for people to give gifts to their rabbis on Purim and stuff like that, or Rabbi or stuff like that. There's a custom like that. That's tremendous. But the point is that there's an issue. There's a certain point where, wait a second, okay? The point is that's not Matanos Levionim. Evyonim is an ani. Right. For some yeshiva, now there might be an aspect of aniyas, of some of it going to aniyim because there's poor students who are in the yeshiva and benefit the yeshiva. That, but the fact is, it's so you could break it down and say maybe it's part of chelik. But the point of the matter is Matanos Levionim is giving to the poor, and that's lost also. When everyone uses the word stuck, it's lost. Technically, stuck is giving to poor people. It's not giving to yeshivas. But the point is, so if yeshiva comes to you on Purim, first check it out, and then you have to look at priorities and say, listen, it's nice yeshiva you have in Timbuktu. Why is it my obligation? And then once you start saying, why is my obligation? People say, give. Wait a second. It is your obligation. You have to figure out where your priorities are because you have a family, you have responsibilities yourself. You can't just give all your money. You have to look. If the guy's asking you for funds, he then sit there and say, listen, is this a priority for me to give to you? Or should I be giving it to a yeshiva that I'm responsible in my city because I have responsibility in my community first? People don't think. We're not teaching people to think because there's a lot of ethics there. And people ask me, don't we have an obligation to give everyone? It's a question of the nani. There's an Indian about nani of not letting a nani go away without anything, unless you think he's actually faking you out or whatever. But the point is, if some yeshiva comes to you, well, you have to that yeshiva in Timbuktu. You have a yeshiva here that you're responsible for. It's your community yeshiva.
You said that tzedakah is giving to a poor person.
Yes.
What is giving to a yeshiva? I'm not talking about a poor.
Okay.
What do you call that?
That's the fact is that's being masuk Torah. That's the strengthening Torah. It's being
that's a chesed. It's not tzedakah.
Well, it's not even a chesed. You're getting into the issues of what this is, because we have an obligation to foster Torah, and the fact is that especially in terms of my own limud, if I can't spend the time limud that I want to expend the amount of Torah in the world, right? It's not even necessarily a chesed. Okay, if you support learning Torah, first of all, you can be benefiting from it because you're learning yourself. Right, that's a big issue that I know about. That people, if they're benefiting from a certain learning organization, right, or this benefiting from learning from with a certain school or institution or whatever, right? Okay, you think it's a chesed? You're learning from them.
No, that's different. That's like
no, but you're right.
The shul.
You're
so let's say somebody comes to you and they're talking to you about a yeshiva that you have no involvement with at all.
Right, so
but it has merit.
You want to be Marbitz Torah.
It has merit.
You want to be Marbitz Torah. You like the Torah that they stand for. You're trying to be Marbitz Torah. You're strengthening the ethics of Israel. That's why Chesed implies that it's sort of like I'm doing him a favor. The fact is, you're benefiting because you want that Torah to expand. The truth is, it's not so bad to say it's beneficial to me, because that's the way we were created by Kodesh Baruch Hu. We have to we have to choose the good benefits. Not, you know what I mean? Like the attitude of selfishness is an attitude where it has this idea. The fact is, you should be selfish. You should be selfish for learning Torah.
So when someone is described as a Baal Tzedakah,
that's a colloquial term. That could be just because of yeshivas. We use the word tzedakah in a colloquial sense, but the technical definition of tzedakah is poor people. But there's another interesting aspect of it is this aspect where people don't break it down. They don't understand their sense of obligation and how they should look at it a little differently. What you have obligations to. This is what I want to create. I pointed out to people before. Some guy comes from yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. Write him a check. I said, do you know what the yeshiva stands for? Oh yeah. Well, no. You check it out. It stands for philosophies that you totally are against. Right? So that's what you want to support? I'm not saying you shouldn't support it, I'm saying, but don't you want to be Marbitz the Torah that you are supportive of? So isn't there a certain value you want to bring into the world? The fact is that one of the things in Judaism is that its selfishness is not bad. Selfishness is what you have to be. You have to know what to be selfish about. It's like the Gemara says. The Gemara says that Kina Sofer Marbit Torah, jealousy for Flamei Chomim increases Torah. Jealousy is such a bad thing? No! I'm jealous. I want to be a Talmud Chacham like him. It's not the jealousy that's bad. It's what are you jealous for? You're jealous I want to